What if the time when the world gets most trauma and drama is right to block the doorway to miracles as though it could? And what if we go, oh, I see your trauma and drama and I raise you miraculousness. I see your trauma and drama and I raise you joy. I see your trauma and drama and I raise you vulnerability. I see your trauma and drama and I raise you choice. I see your trauma and drama and I raise you infinite possibilities, miraculous possibilities. That is what we have the choice for. This thing about asking for miracles, let's ask. One of the things you can do with anything is just go, hey, what would it take for a miracle to show up with this? And then stop thinking, what if we just ask a lot more? And then try to control it a lot less. Because here's the deal, it takes you 3 seconds to ask. What would it take for a miracle with this? What would the miraculous possibility be for us to live lives of miracles? And so here's the thing, as I was going to say, is it just takes a few seconds to ask, what would it take for a miracle to show up here? And then move on. That's when the miracle shows up. And it shows up when you're willing to allow it to show up without, you can't control a miracle into existence, even though we all try, especially when we get more tools like access tools, we then try more a lot of times. But actually the universe itself is what we would call miraculous. And I'm going to say 99.999999999999999% of it exists beyond our ability to comprehend with our minds. Our beings somehow know it. And so when you ask for a miracle, what you're doing is you're accessing that 99.9999999999999% of the universe that functions beyond your mind. And that's really where this occurs. Here's the other thing is if you ask and it doesn't seem to change anything, or it doesn't outwardly or in any way you can figure out, well, you haven't lost anything. You've just made a request and it may show up in a totally different way than you thought it would. And so some of the other questions that can start to access this is, what else is possible that I've never considered? What is possible beyond this reality? So what else is possible that I've never considered? That's another great question that you just kind of go, whew. And that also opens up the doorway for miracles. Also, what is possible beyond this reality that I think is not possible, that if I allowed the possibility would actualize a miraculous reality? When you truly ask that in earnest and you're willing to have that, it opens doors that are things that you cannot control. How many times, by the way, now this is a beyond this reality conversation, how many times have you actually gotten sick, quote unquote, when it was time to do massive change, like you need to change now? And yet, what do we look at? What we're taught in this reality. This is part of the 99.9999, et cetera, percent of the world that is beyond our cognitive understanding. How many times were you what you called sick, but it was actually massive transformation, like detoxing from an old reality, basically, and letting stuff out of your body and getting to a different reference point? Because do you ever notice after you're sick for a while, even if it's just a few hours or a day, feels like there's some weird reset switch that was set and you look at reality differently? Well, what if that is a huge amount of what's going on when you get quote unquote sick? Just saying. And ask, because what if the time when the world gets most trauma and drama and all that stuff is right to block the doorway to miracles as though it could? And what if we go, oh, I see your trauma and drama and I raise you miraculousness. I see your trauma and drama and I raise you joy. I see your trauma and drama and I raise you vulnerability. I see your trauma and drama and I raise you choice. I see your trauma and drama and I raise you infinite possibilities, miraculous possibilities. That is what we have the choice for. One of the things I realized a long time ago is that choice is something that is unfathomable to us. So we see a world in which all kinds of people are doing massive drama. And what it does is it starts orienting you toward aligning and agreeing or resisting and reacting with that in order to have your choice, which when you're aligning and agreeing or resisting and reacting, number one, you're not in allowance. And allowance is the space where you can allow miraculousness to show up, meaning things to show up from a totally different space than has ever existed before and something that is beyond your mind's ability to figure out. And so We're taught that our job is to align and agree or resist and react. But if you don't, if you go, wow, interesting point of view about all of this, interesting point of view, I have this point of view, interesting point of view, they have this point of view, interesting point of view, this is so valuable to so many people, interesting point of view that I really don't get it, interesting point of view that I'm putting all of this energy into trying to be part of all of this when I'm actually not, and I know it, interesting point of view that I won't choose a reality beyond this, interesting point of view that I keep making the box of this reality the box of my reality as though that has to be the case, interesting point of view, we all have this point of view, an interesting point of view, we won't choose to be interesting point of view, and what else is possible now that I've never considered, and what is possible beyond this reality that I think is not possible, that if I allowed the possibilities, would actualize a totally different reality. This is our choice, my beautiful friends. In some way, personally, I am there in a dynamically different way also, and I can't even explain it. I don't have words for it. And that's when we don't have words, when something is opening up that is energetic, that is beyond our cognitive understanding, that's when we try to make it cognitive and try to understand it and try to figure out what's going on, rather than ask, what is the miracle that is being invited here? What is the possibility? What is possible here I've never considered? What would a miraculous possibility be here? What can I be that I've never considered? What can I be, do, have, create, and generate that is beyond any known reality? Here's the thing. When we do that alignment and agreement, what we're doing is we are furthering that reality. If instead, see, the only reason this reality continues to do what it does is because we keep feeding it with our energy. And I mean that literally. And that is also part of the 99.9999999% of how this reality works, or how the universe works, that we don't get, is if we all pulled our energy out of the trauma and drama and pulled out our alignment and agreement and resistance and reaction, if we never went into it again, because we got a lot of power, my friends, but if we never went into it again, you would see things change as if by magic. They would truly be miraculous. It would truly be miraculous change. Now, I've seen that. I've seen that in many different ways. I've seen it small ways and also large ways. One of the things I realized, if you've read the Being You Changing the World book, one of the things that we did when there was the Gulf oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, long before I lived in Texas, actually, it was such an ecological devastation that was going on. What we did was we sent out an email to everybody in the Access database, and we had far fewer on the database then than we do now. And we asked everybody to contribute at a particular time on a particular day to undoing the ecological devastation in the Gulf. And it was interesting because I remember I was in Spain and there were all kinds, I could just sense this ripple go out through the world. It was like watching a movie where the ripple, somebody does boom and this ripple just goes, and I was like, well, that was interesting. I wonder what'll happen. 3 days later, there was an article in the New York Times said that the oil was disappearing at a far faster rate than anybody had imagined possible. 3 days after that, they said that, oh, there's actually these bacteria that normally live where the oil comes out of vents in the ocean floor that are on the surface eating the oil. 3 days after that, BP came out and said, we have lost the oil, but we will find it. So that was one indication, and I have seen several in the time that I've been doing this. And I'm willing to go out there as being the weirdest fucker you've ever met, even though talking to you guys, you're like, dude, that's not weird. It's something I know also. It's just, the haters, the doubters, and the trolls are like, you're the weirdest fucker I've ever met. To which I gratefully say, thank you. And you don't even know the half of it. Because I like to explore that 99.999999999% of how the universe actually works that none of us can imagine is possible. The reason I'm bringing that up is because with enough of us pulling our energy out of reality and enough of us getting together and going, we're having something different, the world truly changes. And you know what? You can say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. What if you, truly being you, in allowance of even the insanity around you, embracing the miracles, embracing the miraculousness, and being total allowance for everyone and everything, including you, are the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires.